Are you ready to face your deepest fears? In this dark corner of the internet, we dive into stories that will make you question everything you thought you knew. Shadows lurk, secrets whisper, and what's waiting in the dark may be closer than you think. Subscribe and step into a world where nightmares are real, and you're the next one to experience them.
Have you ever felt that spine-chilling sensation that someone is watching you, even when you're alone? Maybe you've heard footsteps when no one's there, or caught a glimpse of a shadow just out of the corner of your eye. These are the stories of 6 individuals who experienced true stalking, feeling the presence of someone hiding in the shadows, and their lives forever changed by these terrifying encounters. Hold tight, because what you're about to hear is not fiction, but real events that will haunt you long after the screen fades to black. Now, Kyle. Story 1. The Silent Follower. It was just like any other evening for Sarah. She worked a late shift at the office, and her only task was to get home as quickly as possible. The cold autumn air stung her face as she walked down the empty street. It was late, but Sarah didn't mind. She was used to walking home alone. But tonight, there was something different. She noticed a figure in the distance, walking in the same direction. At first, she thought it was just someone else on their way home. But as Sarah picked up the pace, so did the figure. When she turned the corner, they were still right behind her. Her heart began to race. She tried to speed up, but the footsteps behind her grew louder. Finally, she ran the rest of the way home, slamming the door shut behind her. As she peeked through the window, she saw the figure standing across the street, staring at her house. The next day, Sarah found strange notes on her door, each one more unsettling than the last. They read, "I'm always watching." The fear stayed with her for months. Story 2. The Mysterious Caller. Mark had never been one to worry about unknown numbers calling him, but when it started happening late at night, his curiosity turned to concern. The calls came in the dead of night, always the same pattern. No voice, just heavy breathing. It started innocently enough, but soon the calls grew more frequent. One night, Mark decided to answer. His voice was shaky as he said, "Hello?" There was a brief silence before a whisper came through the phone. "I know where you are." Fear coursed through Mark's veins. He checked all his locks and windows, but found nothing. The calls didn't stop, and they began coming from different numbers, always breathing, always watching. Then one night, Mark's neighbors saw someone standing outside his house, staring in through the window. The police were called, but the figure was never found. Mark couldn't shake the feeling that someone was always watching him. Story 3. The Stranger at the Window. Maria had always felt safe in her apartment. It was in a quiet neighborhood, far from the hustle and bustle of the city. But that all changed one night. She was sitting on her couch, reading a book, when she noticed something strange. A face. At first it was just a blur, but as she focused, she realized someone was standing outside her window. Her heart stopped. Maria rushed to the window, but when she looked out, there was no one there. She dismissed it as her imagination, but that night the face appeared again. This time the figure was grinning. Maria froze, unable to move. The next morning she found strange footprints near her window, leading back into the darkness. Maria called the police, but the figure was never caught. It didn't end there. For weeks she would hear tapping on her window late at night. Always the same tapping, followed by the chilling feeling that someone was standing just beyond the glass. Story 4. The Unseen Observer. David was a successful photographer, known for capturing the beauty of the city at night. He often worked late in his studio, editing photos. But one evening, as he worked into the early hours, he couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching him. He glanced around the room, but there was no one there. At least, that's what he thought. Night after night, the sensation of being observed grew stronger. One evening, David decided to leave his camera set up to capture the time-lapse of the city lights. The next morning, he reviewed the footage and his blood turned cold. In the far corner of the shot, there was a shadowy figure standing just inside the door, watching him as he worked. David froze, realizing someone had been inside the studio while he was there. He moved out of the city within days, but the feeling of being watched never left him. Wow, I may. Story 5. The Haunting Gift. Katie's life seemed perfect. She lived in a cozy apartment, her career was on track, and she was surrounded by people who loved her. That is, until the strange gift arrived. One morning, Katie found a beautiful necklace sitting on her doorstep. It was elegantly wrapped in red velvet with no card or name. Curious, she opened the box and put it on. From the moment she wore it, strange things started happening. The first incident was small. She started noticing someone standing near her, a shadow in her peripheral vision. But soon, it escalated. Katie began feeling watched, hearing footsteps behind her when no one was there. One evening, as she walked home, she saw a figure standing in front of her apartment building. It was the same figure from her dreams. When she rushed inside and locked the door, she found the necklace in her hand, but this time, it was glowing. Katie never found out who sent the gift, but she moved away soon after, afraid that something or someone was following her, connected to that haunting piece of jewelry. Story 6. The Silent Watcher. Emma, a graduate student, had lived in the same apartment for years, enjoying the peace and quiet of her suburban life. But all that changed one night. It started with little things. Her door would be left ajar, her books would be out of place, and she'd hear strange noises in the middle of the night. But the worst came one evening, when Emma woke up to the sound of tapping on her window. She assumed it was just the wind, but the tapping continued, growing louder. With shaking hands, she crept toward the window, only to find a shadowy figure staring in at her. When Emma screamed, the figure ran off. But it wasn't the end. The next morning, Emma found a note on her door. "I can't wait to see you again." Her life was never the same. Emma eventually moved, but the fear of that unknown presence lingered, haunting her thoughts. And then I know.